Welcome back to my channel. My name is Alice. Now today I want to talk about the Oxalis. Now the thing about this plant is that basically it is quite invasive and it does have little sort of bulbs that grow, but why I'm not so particular about it, because in the beginning is you can sort of keep plucking them, but by the time you finish the end of the garden, they've all come up again. So all I do is just pick them up, and then once in a while I go in there with a little shovel and I remove the seeds. Now the other thing why I want to talk about this plant, when we were kids, just about 8, 9 years old, and we used to have on Saturdays our cycling club and then stop by the river, we used to see a lot of these Oxalis. And why I feel so attached to it is that as kids we used to sit there and eat it, and it's got the sour taste in it, and that's why anyone who comes to visit me, they're like, oh my god, are those Oxalis, the ornamental ones, are they the same as the ones we used to eat as children? And they are the same family. So welcome back to my channel. We're going to talk about the ornamental Oxalis. Now the thing is that Oxalis is my favorite plant, and people do say it's invasive, but I always find that when you do grow it in containers, you actually minimize it spreading to your garden. So what I've done is I've taken some of the samples of my Oxalis plant. Now this one flowers actually white, but I didn't get the blooms this morning, but that's okay. Now this one, it flowers pink, and they call it the pink sorrel. And look at those lovely flowers, they're so beautiful. And this is my buttercup. Look at that. Oh, this color is just stunning. I just love that yellow. It's almost electric. So there are many varieties, and especially there is a variety that is actually a dark purple, and we will put the name below. Now that one, they call it the False Shamrock. Now basically why they give the name is because of the leaves. Now the thing about the Oxalis leaves is that you do get 3 leaves like that, similar. And look at the shape, it looks like a heart. So as I mentioned earlier, is as kids we used to take the more invasive one and chew it. Now it does have the same taste as the sorrel, which is a sour taste, and some people, especially in Latin America, they do use the tuber and cook it, but I've never tried it. But it is actually very rich in vitamin C, so that's an idea that I throw on you. Now the thing about the plant, why it's invasive, all I know is that the one I find very invasive is this Oxalis, and this one is called the corniculata. We'll put the name down, I'm not very good at these names. The problem with this particular variety is I do use them in hanging baskets, and I was using them quite a lot, but it just drops, and it actually propagates very quickly. Now the thing about it is, as it spreads, it can form a carpet, and then you find it everywhere. I'm actually trying to stop using this variety. I still do use it for hanging basket, but I'm really careful. I look under, and if it's there, I pull it out from the soil. The beautiful thing about these plants is I have it on the west side of my garden, and so it gets its afternoon sun. By the time the sun is overhead, the flowers are still closed, but as soon as the sun starts moving, that's when they open up, and I get this sort of look. All of them just spring out and open, and then in the evening what happens, they close up in order to conserve its moisture. So if we're looking at the sun requirement, I would go like with my afternoon sun, they get about 6 hours of sun. But you can have them in partial sun, but you must remember that the more darker the leaves are, like dark purple one, it actually is much better in absorbing the sunlight. So what do I do for water? Is we just sprinkle every single day, just a little bit of water just to keep it up. Otherwise what happens, it'll start wilting and all these leaves will drop. But as soon as you do give it a bit of water, everything springs up. It's a very easy plant to look after. So now with the soil requirement is well-drained soil, because some of these, as I've laid out their rooting structure, is when you do get a bulb and you get too much water and it gets waterlogged, you will get root rot. So just make sure that you just give it enough water, leave it dry in between water feeds, but basically don't have it in a situation that is completely waterlogged. You can still do your finger test, and if it's dry, just a little bit of water so it pecks up. Today I was so busy because I did want to present this, because you know I am showing you what I love, what my favorite plants, and I have propagated some of them, and we will look at the rooting structure. But what happens is that it can fill out quite quickly with certain varieties. But what you need to do is, as it grows, just remove the old spent flowers, because you don't want the plant to get really congested in there. And you may even find one or two leaves that have discolored. I would actually just remove it, and any spent flowers. So you can go in and clean them, because as it gets older, as in here, is you get old roots. So just remove it and it makes it much more easier. Now the other thing, if you've noticed with my white variety, it's actually facing westward. What I didn't do is you have to keep turning it so that you can have a more rounded flower, sort of bouquet, blooms. But if you do leave it facing one way, all the leaves will face the sun wherever it gets the heat, and it'll leave this side bare. The thing about the oxalis is that basically if it does get overcrowded, and we've done the cleaning, is that you can get pests, you can get aphids, you can get white flies. And the other day I did get an attack of rust, the powdery spores. But with that, again, I just took them out. And then what I did is that I put them in a bag, just soaked it in a lot of neem oil, and then threw it out for the refuse. But you can get attacked, so always keep your eyes on it. So now, as I mentioned, the whole of this morning, I had so many of these little containers full of my oxalis. So what I did is in the morning, I've been actually trying to multiply my stock, because I just feel that some of these containers have got too crowded. And then suddenly I just thought, let me dismantle the whole thing and then look at the root structure, because I actually thought that both of them have the same root structure. So with this pink sorrel, let me put this one aside. With the pink sorrel, I realized it has a rhizome, just like that. But then when I looked at my buttercup, I realized this one has tubers, plus it has these little baby, they call them bublets, bulblets. They're all there, and this is where all the growth happens. So suddenly I realized that these two, although they are the sorrel family, they have totally two different rooting structures. So when we're looking at exactly the same sorrel plants, and we realize that this one is just out of rhizomes, and when you do want to propagate this, all you do is pluck it from its rhizome, and you can go on and on. Whereas my dear sweet little buttercup with this beautiful yellow flowers, now this is a totally different one, because what happens is, if I can just show you, okay, we've seen the little bulblets, And then what happens is these little bulblets. So this is where the plant is the crown. And then you get the root, and that's where the tuber will start, where it actually does retain water. But then they form these little bulblets, and that's what actually gets into propagation. That's where you will actually get your babies from. So we have so many bulblets, like this one, for example. So again, you have the crown, you have the tuberous, and you get the bulblets. So each bulb, which is connected here, as we've seen here, it can produce about 20 babies, more bulblets. And so basically this is your thing. So you have the fleshy tuber, which is actually your part of the root, but it stores water, and then you get these babies, and that is what you're going to propagate. You just take them and put them in the soil, and slowly your oxalis will come up. So that's what I was doing today. So I got 2 bowls, and the thing is that I didn't get very deep bowls because most of the rooting actually is above. So I just got shallow bowls, maybe about 6 inches high, and that's where I've done all my propagation. So with this pink sorrel, all you do is, if you get the rhizome, you can separate the rhizome and stick it in the soil. So if you look there, is that all my rhizomes are in, and I've stuck them in the soil for the pink sorrel. And then I've made a separate one for my buttercup, where actually I just planted it like that with the bulblets, and some of the bulblets I did scatter on the inside, so that in the end the bulblets will actually start growing. And also, like the one with the tuber, hopefully it should actually also start growing and get little bulblets on the side. So that's my propagation. So thank you, fellow gardeners. Do go and get yourself an oxalis. They have so many different varieties. They have some which has orange flowers, and they're not invasive. They are invasive, but if you do grow them in your containers, is that the chances of them jumping out and going and invading a different area is very slim. And do get, I love this buttercup and also the pink sorrel. It's a shame my white one didn't flower. But don't forget to like, share, press the notification button, and do subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to tell your friends, follow us on Instagram, DM us, do write your comments. I'm always there to answer. So thank you so much, and have a lovely day. And do get this. It reminds me so much of my childhood. And I do occasionally take a bite because it's full of vitamin C, and it's got a really lovely sour taste. Have a lovely day.